Jessica, thank you so much for joining me this week on Sports Seriously. I've been a fan of yours for a while, so I really am excited and appreciate your time being with us.
This is awesome. And honestly, Mackenzie, the fact that you're hosting the show, we get to talk sports, it's an exciting time of year. Are you kidding me? Like, everything is happening with NBA, NFL, as you know. Obviously, MLB postseason. Here we go with the World Series.
The state of baseball. I want to talk a little bit, dive into that with you. We talked to Bo Jackson recently and asked him which sport has a better future, baseball or football, and he said baseball. So I want to know, would you agree with that?
Bo Jackson. Okay, first of all, that was an awesome name drop because I was huge Bo Jackson fan. I love that he said that, right? Like, of all, athletes coming from both, I think baseball needs to make change. And I will always say baseball has the future because it's part of our past. Like, it is really ingrained in who we are as a society. But I think where we're at right now, if we look at present, it is football. It is the NFL. I mean, the NFL is killing. I mean, there is no sport even within the same, atmosphere of what the NFL is at. So to even think that, baseball is where NFL is at today. But I hope, Mackenzie, that with change, we can get baseball back to that place. Because honestly, that was the pedestal that baseball was on for 100 years. We're just not there anymore because of the pace of play, because of the fact that there hasn't been enough change. I mean, you look at sports like NFL and NBA and how much they have evolved with the times and understanding who their audience is. And not just age, but women, different backgrounds, diversity. Baseball needs to get on board with the same.
I'm glad you mentioned a few things. You mentioned pace of play and inclusion. So if you were commissioner for one day, what would be the one thing you'd change for the sport immediately?
Okay, people are going to just cringe at this one probably. I'd make the sport 7 innings. I cannot handle, especially with bullpen manipulation right now. We keep talking about pace of play and the games are too long. Okay, well, I get that a pitch clock is coming. I get that we're working on having less pitchers come in and face a certain... But at the end of the day, can we just cut out 2 of those innings? I mean, I come from a sport that's 7 innings. And think about it. We get now starting pitchers go 4, maybe 5 innings. And now we're seeing 10 different dudes coming out of the bullpen. And it's this constant thing starting in the 5th inning. Imagine if that 5th inning was more like the 7th. You had 2 more innings to play with. We all want to get to the end of the game. What's going to happen? And does it really matter, if it's 6-0 in the 5th? What's going to happen over the course of the next 4 innings? So if I was commissioner for the day, I would make the sport 7 innings, make it exciting. And that way from pitch 1, doesn't matter what inning you're in, it matters. And that's so important.
We talk about expanding the game. We see baseball dipping their toes into streaming. But a lot of people complain about how hard it is to find the games. So my question to you is the league making it harder, not easier to watch their product right now?
Well, they're caught in a bad space right now because they've gone to local, where you have all of the local television, where a lot of the money is coming in, with this entire complete change of where everyone's streaming now. I can't tell you the last time I watched a game on television. I am always streaming from my phone. I've got my iPad. I'm on the go. Speaking of women, moms, we're always going all over the place. That's how I am able to digest stuff. Now, luckily, I'm able to have the right packages to get me to the right teams. But to your point, I mean, I live up in the Pacific Northwest, and Root Sports, who has, the local, they don't have their own app, and now they're finally getting it, but you can't stream it. It's just so complicated when people are I just want to watch my team. So we're kind of caught in this middle space, but I think what we'll see in baseball the next few years is finally the understanding of how we can get that streaming to everybody, because obviously that's the future.
Before diving into the World Series, the Yankees and Dodgers are not in the Fall Classic. So which to you had the more disappointing October? Would you say the Dodgers, the Yankees?
The Dodgers, hands down.
Dodgers for sure.
They won 111 games. I mean, they didn't even make it to the championship series. I get that the Yankees got a ton more attention. So I think from a bigger picture, people think the Yankees were more disappointing because of Aaron Judge. You have this record-breaking superstar that everyone's watching, especially through August and September. And the assumption was that the Yankees were Aaron Judge. The Dodgers were the best team in baseball the entire season. I mentioned they won 111 games. There's only been one other team in the history of the game to not make it to the championship series with 110 more wins, and that was what we hear, the 2001 Mariners. And so you think about those two teams. I cover the Dodgers. I work for the Dodgers. I mean, to be a part of this team, Mackenzie, and see how great they were
can
and
imagine.
then not even make it past, and even worse, the team that they dominated. So you're hitting a sore spot with me. The Padres, the team that they absolutely dominated all year long, couldn't get past the division series. So yeah, it is like not even close. Dodgers, Yankees.
Do you think Aaron Judge has played his last game in the pinstripes?
I do, but I do think it's going to be a huge priority for the Yankees to get him. But I look at just long term, they need a lot of they have a lot of holes. Clearly, like Aaron Judge carried that team in the second half. So if you're talking 40 million annually plus, I mean, it could be up to 50 million annually. The Yankees would have to outprice everybody in the market, and there's going to be so many teams that are going after him. So when I look at, okay, yes, they want to keep Aaron Judge. Duh, that's like a no-brainer. But when you look at the future of this entire organization, they want to win World Series. Yeah. So does it pay? Like, there's going to be teams that are going to be like, no, we just want Aaron Judge because he's going to bring in market dollars. People are going to come into the stadium. They want to watch him play. The Yankees don't prioritize that. Yes, they've had stars, of course, but think about how they've been homegrown. Think how, like, the biggest and best teams that they've had, it isn't because they went and spent all of the money. They had a lot of homegrown talent as well. And so I think the focus needs to also be what's going to be around Aaron Judge. And if you have to pay him $50 million a year, I just don't think the Yankees are part of the future.
I do want to talk World Series with you before we let you go. What are your initial thoughts on this matchup as a whole, and what excites you most about this Fall Classic?
The first two games are what excites me the most. The Astros are clearly the favorite. It's a David and Goliath. I mean, let's be real. Like, the best team in the American League against the last team in the Phillies. The Astros just killed the New York Yankees, which had so much hype coming into it. And they are a great, great team. And not just this year. We're talking over the last 8 years. And we've heard it. And to put the trash can scandal, everything back behind them, they have so much. Dusty Baker. There's so many storylines going in for the Houston Astros. But I get excited about the first two games because really that's where the Phillies, the pressure is on. They've got Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola. And if I were to pick of all the aces we have and the pitching that we have in the series, I would put those two above right now today, Justin Verlander and Framber Valdez. Justin Verlander is going to win the Cy Young. So his regular season numbers were ridiculous, but he's 0-6 in his career. He's given up 7 runs. He gave up a ton of runs against the Mariners, got saved by the bullpen. I don't think people are seeing what he looks like in October right now, and I think that's going to be real in those first two games. Zach Wheeler is the best starting pitcher right now in the postseason, and he gets game 1 for the Phillies.
Well, Jessica, finally, before we let you go, I want to know what's your World Series prediction, and this can be either fun or just an off-the-wall prediction you have.
I mean, I think it's going to go 6 games, which I think is more off the wall than people think. The Astros, I don't see how they don't win a World Series with how talented they are. Mackenzie, the beauty of all of this, though, is we watch these games. I mentioned the Dodgers and Padres on my rant, right? The best team doesn't always win. That's why you play the game. And I know those are all the quotes and cliches, but it's what makes it so fun. That's why everyone tunes in. If you could just put the numbers on the table and be like, this team's better, and you just know, then it's no fun to watch and be a part of. So I pick the Astros, I think, like most people, because of how dominant and better they are than the Phillies. But wouldn't it be really cool to see this thing go? And that's why I think it's going to go 6 games and be a pretty good series.
Hey, sports fans, if you want to see more conversations with athletes and stars, check out these videos right here and be sure to subscribe for more from USA Today Sports.